Treasurer, thanks for your time this morning. What's the federal response this morning to the floods?
Well, firstly, we've got the ADF on standby. We've already seen our Taipan helicopters help save people from those rising floodwaters. And of course, we've got the economic assistance that is starting to flow. We've got a disaster recovery payment, which is a one-off $1,000 non-means tested tax-exempt payment. We've also got disaster recovery allowances, which can be up to 13 weeks of payments to help people who cannot get to work because of those floods and the impact on supply chains. And then, of course, we'll work with the state government, as we've done with previous disasters, on other assistance packages, and we are working with local governments too in helping with clean-up costs.
Is there any plans for anything more beyond that? I mean, because some businesses are still struggling from previous flooding in Brisbane and northern New South Wales from many years ago.
Well, the disaster recovery arrangements that we put in place with states are very significant. Those payments can go into the tens of thousands of dollars. They've been very helpful to, for example, farmers with previous natural disasters or other small businesses get back on their feet. So we'll do what is required. We'll work with the state government. We'll work with local governments. And let's not forget that the federal government in just the last few years alone has put $17 billion of taxpayers' money to disaster recovery payments and assistance as has been required. So we'll do what is needed.
Just with your eyes overseas now, Treasurer, you've got the Russian President Vladimir Putin has threatened to push the nuclear button today. What's your response to that and the actions that have been taken by the European Union since then to basically give planes to Ukraine if they need them?
Well, this is an escalation of an already very dangerous situation. Make no mistake about it, Vladimir Putin and his cronies are the aggressor. Ukraine, a peaceful nation, 44 million people, pose no threat to Russia. Russia has not acted in self-defence. They've sought to invade another country, which is a criminal act, and right now there's a humanitarian disaster unfolding. Hundreds of thousands of people are trying to find safe haven. You've got people cowering in bomb shelters in Kiev as bombs are being dropped, and there's fighting on the streets. This is a real concern, and that's why Australia is partnering with like-minded nations, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, other European nations, to ensure that Putin and his cronies get isolated from the international financial system. I spoke overnight to my US counterpart, US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, and we agreed to turn the screws on Putin and his cronies. He cannot take such actions without a huge cost. And that is what it's up to the rest of the world to ensure occurs.
We're helping Ukraine in the form of money that will ultimately be used for weapons. What is the total spend of that?
Again, we're working with our partners, the United States and the United Kingdom, on the details of that equipment that will be made available to Ukraine. We've already announced non-lethal equipment. Now we've announced that we'll help provide lethal equipment, recognising that a number of other countries as well are providing equipment to the Ukrainians who are desperately in need. Russia's actions, Pete, are a direct challenge to the international rules-based order that has helped to underpin prosperity in Europe for the last 70 plus years. This is the first major interstate conflict in Europe since the Nazis were defeated. And in 1945, we got the United Nations. The year prior, we had the Bretton Woods Agreement with the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund being established. They were premised on accepting the sovereignty of states and understanding rules and norms that needed to be adhered to. Russia's actions are in a flagrant breach of the United Nations Charter, and in that sense represent a real threat to that liberal international rules-based order that has served the world and indeed Australia so well.